Welcome everyone to our first episode of our Health Huddle show. This is John here, and we have Lynette on the line.
Hello.
So if you're watching this as a replay, today our topic was would you take COVID-19 vaccine if it's out? Which side are you on? We're going to discuss together today, and this is our first episode of the Health Huddle. I'm John and Lynette here, hosting the show for the first time. The show is called Health Huddle. So in this show, our plan is to discuss interesting topics, trending topics about healthcare, wellness, genetics, and whatnot. So feel free to join us every week. It will be different people coming in. There will be also experts in the field and also our own internal members. To just have a chit chat with you. Do leave a comment in the comment section and to interact with us, and welcome to share our thoughts. So before we start, do some introduction on us. My name is John 𝗀. So I'm a pharmacist by profession. I'm also a co-founder of Advanx Health, in charge of the operation. So Lynette, you can do a quick introduction about yourself.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Lynette. So I'm biotechnology background, and I'm currently a lab manager in Advanx Health. Yeah.
Yep. So both of us are from science background, and today we are interested to start off the series on the big topic: would you take the COVID-19 vaccine if it's available? A lot of people nowadays are asking, if the vaccine comes out, tentatively by end of February, would you, or would anyone take the COVID-19 vaccine, and what's your take? So Lynette, what do you think about it? Would you take the COVID-19 vaccine if it's available?
For me, if now, I think no.
Why is it no?
Because I'm not sure about the adverse effect, especially because although it will have an adverse effect, but not sure whether it's a long-term effect or not. Yeah, so this is what I'm most concerned. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. However, for me, I personally would take the COVID-19 vaccine if it's available, based on the situation. So a quick disclaimer for those who are listening. This is an open-ended question. Every discussion is purely made out of personal opinion. It's not representing the company or any other associations per se. Or we are also not representing the Ministry of Health. It's purely on discussion, and take things with a grain of salt. It should not be taken as a professional medical device. However, do feel free to join us in the discussion in the comments, on what do you think about the topic. Would you take the COVID-19 vaccine if it's available? So now, upon introducing our stand, so Lynette is on the part that she won't be taking the vaccine if it's available, and I myself, I will be taking the vaccine. So following, I believe a lot of people would ask the same question or would have similar thoughts as Lynette about the safety and efficacy, how the vaccine is registered, what is MPRA and what's their role in the vaccine registration. Are they per se trustworthy? Is it credible? Why traditionally vaccine registration takes a long time, but now it can be fast tracked? Is it something missing in the process? I think we will be starting the discussion very soon. For anyone who just joined the live, this is the first episode of Health Huddle. The topic today is, would you take the COVID-19 vaccine if it's available? So moving on to our first point of discussion is when, Lynette, you mentioned you're worried about the safety and efficacy.
Yes.
Perhaps, I think on our end, probably we have prepared some information about that. Would you be able to share with us more on that?
Yeah, for this one, for the safety and efficacy part, because actually, as my knowledge, vaccine could take a very long time to be established. It will, I mean, even if the because for a vaccine to be established, we have to go through for 4 stages of clinical trials. So
Yep, that's true.
even for now, the COVID-19 vaccine is in the stage 3, but actually stage 3 took a very long time for the vaccine to be established. It took almost 10 years or maybe more than that. But now the thing is going fast. So everyone is I mean, from the previous news that I've read, there is almost, I think, more than 1.6 million people is already over the world already taking this vaccine. So, but because the research is like we don't have a very clear information behind the vaccine, and we are not sure about the efficacy, how is the safety, and how is the long-term adverse effect. So this is why I think that for the vaccine is not safe for now, unless there is more research giving out to us, more research, more information. Yeah.
Yep, that's true. So we have a question in the comment section where Jane asks, is it possible for someone to die from taking the vaccine? So to address the concern about fatality to vaccine, I think in general what we understand from vaccine, the biggest worry is a allergic reaction to the vaccine. So
Yes.
a lot of people would likely die from the allergic reaction than the I would say the effect of the vaccine itself. Most vaccines are being formulated, to be safe to be be administered with the body.
Yes.
Because as just now Lynette mentioned, there's 3 phases, or actually there's 4 phases in the clinical trial, where the first 2 actually test on the safety profile of the vaccine. So I think on the safety profile, I personally take a more confident stand in terms of the safety profile, where if you are not generally allergic, or you do not develop allergic reactions to the vaccine, likely you would not die from the vaccine. However, my scrutiny on the vaccine is whether would it work, whether would it give a false hope to people who took the vaccine, and would it put them into more harm, because they might think that they are immune to the COVID. So an overview also on my personal reading on vaccines. I think right now there's a lot of mutation going around with the COVID virus. A lot of times vaccines are more targeted to maybe 1 strain or 2 strains. It
Yes.
might not work in a broad spectrum, and more evidence or investigation might need to be in place to really establish the efficacy profile. I think coming back to the discussion where Lynette mentioned about the studying period of the vaccine. That is true. That's true. I think on this emergency situation, the pandemic situation, a lot of organizations have placed more, I'll say, emphasis on the vaccine trials and really expedite some of the processes. I think probably scrutiny needs to be placed, but it's also because the circumstances are dire. I think the trade-off of the vaccine allergy percentage compared to people passing or contracting the disease is a huge trade-off, and the benefit over outweighs the risk in this situation. That's why vaccine might be a possible solution or moving ahead, to really handle or relieve some of the load from the system there. So yep. So we have another question from 𝗪𝗰𝗀𝗀, asking how safe will it be for a maybe you mean phase 3 COVID-19 vaccine. So Lynette, what's your thought in this? Just now, since you mentioned about the phase 3 vaccine trial?
So actually phase 3 is about observing the adverse effect of the vaccine. Yeah, so I wouldn't say like it's not safe or safe, but it depends on the efficacy and also the adverse effect that because now we don't have a very clear statistics on how how is the adverse effect could really could affect the person.
I
So
guess I guess what you're trying to say is more on the long term, probably a delayed effect on the
yeah,
vaccine. So
yes,
because a lot of times when the things happen so fast, we only observe the short term effect and not the long
yes,
term effect. So for those who are from a non-science, non-healthcare background, adverse effect means anything that is not expected, or uh, any effects that are not meant to happen, that are there are negative effects on the vaccine administration. So those are what we call adverse effect. So I think in reply to 𝗂𝗃'𝗀𝗃's question, the phase 3 trial for a COVID vaccine actually gives us more evidence on or more understanding on how the vaccine works in different people. That's why
yes,
2 days ago when our Prime Minister 𝗪𝗰𝗰𝗶𝗹𝗀 he also mentioned that the Malaysian uh, there are a system, I think a volunteer trial of 3,000 candidates on the to really conduct like a clinical trial on the vaccine to really see how the vaccine reacts on our local population. So when we talk about evidence, there are also part of it that requires localization. So
correct,
sometimes we cannot take a clinical trial data from maybe the US or China and expedite or or propagate it to our local population, local profile. So most of the times when any biologics, including vaccines, when they register with MPRA, they will require like a local study, local data to support. So I
yes,
guess in this sense, evidence more evidence conducted via the clinical trial would require to sort of help us understand more how on the effect on how the vaccine will affect adults, Malaysians here. So there's a question from John. So thank you for your question, John. So just curious, from what I know from vaccine trials for the current vaccine, Pfizer for the third phase of trial actually involves quite less percentage of Asians. Um, so coming back to your question, yes, so that's where the part of local clinical trial plays a role here.
yes,
So yes, uh, if the study population of the trial doesn't reflect the actual population for Malaysians, actually it actually brings scrutiny as well. I think for healthcare professionals, we would prefer data being collected from our local Malaysian population instead. That's why there will be a clinical trial being conducted, I think, even on the Pfizer vaccine. So
yes,
on another note, the based on the published information on the COVID-19 vaccination plan, this vaccination would not be mandatory. Only for those who are willing to vaccinate themselves. So if you're not comfortable about it, uh, then you can wait and see how it's being taken off. Yep. So I think a lot of people might be curious, how long actually it would take to register the a vaccine typically, and what process it takes place, who's the the authority in charge. So the authority here is actually MPRA. Is a short form for National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Agency. So
yes,
a normal process will probably take a year. Yeah,
yes,
take a year. So, but then now, MPRA just released a new conditional registration where in the case of emergency, there is how to say a more I wouldn't say shortcut, but a more simpler submission in terms of the documents required for registration. And there will
Yes.
be like a probational observational period of 2 years. So this the reason why the conditional registration came out is also to speed up the process of the registration of the vaccine in the COVID pandemic. So
Yes.
so so I think from that uh, uh, it actually the differences from what I know is mostly on the clinical study data.
Mm.
So the like what John and also Lynette has brought out, some of the local information is not made available upon submission. So I think that's the part where it's different right now, compared to a normal process where it would take about a year. Right now, conditional registration might take up to 90 to 120 days,
Yes.
from based on the documents presented. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
So
So yeah. So Lynette.
yeah, we have another question here from 𝗓𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗀. Uh, he is asking, let's say you were part of the participants for the clinical trial phase 3 vaccine. What are the things come into your mind from pharmacy perspective and also biotechnology perspective? If possible, you can explain it more scientifically.
Yeah, probably you can take on that question.
So, if I'm a part of the participants for the clinical trial phase 3, I think for me, I don't mind to be part of it because uh, it's actually it's actually a voluntary action, and I think it's a pleasure for me to, it's an honor for me to try something that uh, that is developing, and as a biotechnology from as a biotechnologist, I think that we need people that are very how to say very willing to try out the clinical trial vaccine. Yeah, because some people, they might afraid of they might have side effect or something like that, but uh, because if we really want to uh, make it established, we need people to really voluntarily try on, involve, participate in the clinical trial test, so that we can find out the uh, cons behind it, and find out the side effect, find out the adverse effect from it. Yeah, and then to make it like more safe lah before we establish it.
Yep. I think I would resonate with Lynette. I think for us is willing to step up and be one of the candidates for to prove the safety and efficacy profile of the vaccine. Very much willing to do so. And I think I have confidence in our NPR agency in terms of conducting the trials and of all the protocols in place. As long as we follow the instructions, I think it should be safe from the candidate point of perspective.
Yes.
For those who just join us, this is episode 1 of the Health Huddle. The question would be: would you take the COVID-19 vaccine if it's made available tentatively as early as end of next month, end of February? So tentatively, the vaccine will be delivered to the high-risk population, which is one of it is the frontliners. I think with the benefit of our audience today also, probably Lynette, you can explain the types of vaccine that are being published and what are the sort of differences in effect, why. So based on one of the published articles by our minister 𝗪𝗂𝗃. So 𝗪𝗂𝗃, he said that there are different distributions based on the vaccine available, and the Pfizer vaccine would be more to the urban area because of the storage issue, and while the Oxford
Yes.
AstraZeneca vaccine will be in rural areas. So help us explain, what are the different vaccines here and what differentiates them in terms of the distribution and coverage.
So actually, we have few types of vaccine over here, and one of them are mRNA vaccine. I believe most of us have heard of that. And then there's another one is viral vector vaccine, and we have we have some more protein subunit vaccines and also inactivated virus vaccine. So I think most of people they are curious about mRNA vaccine, which is the Pfizer, which is from Pfizer, and then actually mRNA vaccine uh, is a vaccine that carries the information that allows our cell to produce the viral protein that does not cause the disease. So it actually mRNA is a molecule from our body. It's separate from the DNA because DNA is a double strand and mRNA it will separate from the DNA, become a single strand. And then when we insert mRNA into our body, the cell will read as the instruction to produce a certain viral protein. We call it as spike protein, and it will show at the surface of the cell. And when the immune cell recognize the viral protein, it will uh, make the antibody to against the virus. So for mRNA vaccine, according to the information from the government have gave us. So according to the information that we got from the government, they are going to distribute the vaccine according to like the area, the rural area and the city. Uh, more more likely is because of the storage. Because some vaccine we need to store in a negative below negative 10, negative 70 degree in the freezer. And if in the rural area we are not able to find a good storage for that, and they are quite further away from the city, so during the transportation process it might affect the temperature of the vaccines. Yeah, that's why they distribute the vaccine in according to the storage temperature.
Then here comes another question that probably people would be interested to ask: is there a difference? Is the Pfizer vaccine better than the AstraZeneca vaccine in this certain, are the people in the urban area getting better vaccines than people in the rural area? Is there a discrimination over here? What do you think?
I think more or less the the effect is there is the same actually, just that because different vaccine they are using different types, like what I mentioned just now. One is used mRNA and then some we are using viral vector. Their storage temperature will be different because of their what component that they use. So actually it does not it does not uh, I mean, the safety of the vaccine does not based on what based on the temperature or based on the yeah for the vaccine distribution.
Mhm.
It actually depends on what component that you use and the component, what is the suitable temperature for the component. That's
So
why
here's
there's difference in the temperature storage.
so there's I think there's also a circular going on where if you take one of the vaccine, you cannot take the other one. It doesn't operate the same. It doesn't provide same coverage. Especially the Pfizer vaccine, 2 doses is required. Where if you take the first dose, then the second dose you must take back the same vaccine. Otherwise, it would not provide as much protection as is being expected. What's the idea or what's the theory behind that?
Because actually for vaccine, why we have to take 2 doses of the vaccine is because for the first dose, it maybe might give you like maybe only less than 50% of the immunity, immunity, yeah. But with the second doses, you can get a full boost of the vaccination. That's why that's why some vaccine we need 2 doses for it to be more effective.
So here's another question, for that. Before we proceed to the next question, for those who just joined us tonight, this is our first episode of Health Huddle. The question today is: would you take the COVID-19 vaccine if it's made available? And the Health Huddle is a series that we're gonna have live every Wednesday 8 p.m. to discuss the most current issue and interesting science, healthcare, and genetic related topics. So moving on to the next question to Lynette is, people might think that if let's say they get COVID-19 and probably they recovered, does that provide the same protection? Do these people need to take the vaccine as well?
Yeah, actually, a lot of people they have an idea that if I already have the COVID infection and I already recover from it, I already have the immunity towards the virus. But actually, for now, because the research, the information is quite low, quite less, so we are not sure whether how long the immunity is there. So it would be better if you can. It would be better if you take the vaccine, because we are not sure how long the immunity is there, and yeah, most probably this is the idea lah for this.
Yeah,
It
I
doesn't mean
think
that if you have, yeah, so it doesn't mean that if you have already get infected once, you won't get infected another time. Yeah, actually this is the idea, the mis
yeah.
I mean the people get the wrong idea in here. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Don't get the wrong idea. So if you contracted COVID-19 and you recovered from it, do not think that the immunity, or you are lifetime immune to the virus. It is still insufficient for us to say that, and there are protocols to say probably I think 90 days, 16 or 90 days post exposure, you will need to take the vaccine again. So
Yes.
do go to credible sites to get the right SOP. I think before we wrap up, one thing for us to also educate our listeners here is the reason why we need to take the vaccine. The purpose of the vaccine is actually to have a herd immunity where we stop the chain of transmission.
Yes.
So how does it work if let's say today I am immune because I have took the full dose of vaccine. If I come in contact with Lynette who might have the virus, I would stop the chain of transmission, because when the virus lands on me, it wouldn't be spread further, because my body would, because of the immunity, would kill off, would fend off the virus. So that's the reason why, if you see in the news or articles, we need to reach at least a number. So right now it's 80% of the population to be vaccinated. If we reach that goal, then most people would be immune to the virus. Then we can stop the chain of transmission. So the efficacy aside, the safety aside, so the reason why we need a vaccine is because to stop the chain of transmission.
Yes.
So to wrap up, we're gonna do a very quick one. To wrap up. So yeah, so because Lynette, you opt to not take the vaccine yet, until sufficient evidence being presented, but also consider. So what like a final wrap up would you give on your end, on your personal end, and probably what's your personal thoughts on this?
So for now, because what I mentioned, I didn't get very clear information on the adverse effect, side effect about the vaccine. So I would not take the vaccine for now. But if we have get approval from the NPRA, definitely we'll get the statistic and all the reports from them. So if the report is very transparent, very clear about if I can get a very clear information on how the vaccines are functioning and what are the adverse effect, what is the side effect, what is the efficacy, the safety, all the information. If I really get the information, then probably I will change my mind. Yes.
Yep. So on my end, I would be one of the first few to really try out the vaccine. Only also because of fear, also because of uncertainty. However, I'll also be careful in terms of the scrutiny. First of all, is the efficacy. Whether the vaccine would work. That's for one. Of course, if there's any side effect that might be very personal. So, for example, other people might not develop, but I might develop. So we wouldn't sure, and wouldn't be too sure. Like what you mentioned earlier on this show, is any long-term side effects, because we are dealing with mRNAs, etc. I think safety profile, as we have also mentioned, MPRA has been also putting a lot of effort into making sure, even though it's a fast track registration, but all the safety information and documents are well presented, and they keep a very close monitoring in terms of the side effects and adverse effects. So rest assured, for those who are curious or who are on the borderline, this vaccination is definitely not mandatory yet. But for those who are willing to step up, so you will be the first few people who really try out and potentially get the first immunity if everything works out. And hopefully more publications will come up and ease our doubt from doubting the vaccines efficacy and safety. So I think that would wrap up for the session today. We have been chatting for almost 40 minutes right now, so it was a good session. So I hope our guests, our listeners, enjoyed the session. And if you would like us to talk about different topics, any comments, please leave us in the comments or PM us from the page. Thank you for tuning in with us. We hope we have give you a very interesting session today. So here is John and Lynette signing off, and good night everyone, and take care and have a safe MCO period at home. Stay safe and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone. Stay safe. Actually, not duplicating another thing. It's just that you have the gene from the pets, from your pet, and then you clone another one, but without the memory.